art is not subjective when it comes to calligraphy. It's the T. Just because you took a course, it doesn't give you a license to perform right away.
Skills are so important. Like, even though the head office may approve you, someone in the store will understand what you're doing and they may or may not like it. There's always somebody who knows.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Event Ready Podcast, where we're going to be spilling the tea about our roller coaster ride of being in the world of live event artistry.
So if you're a painter, calligrapher, or illustrator, this podcast is for you because we're about to uncover the secrets, the stories, and the struggles in the industry. This is your host, Michelle.
And I'm Talisa, so get your tea ready. Hi, welcome back. So excited to be back. This is our second episode, and we're going to talk about how to position yourself as a professional event artist.
Ooh, exciting.
Mhm.
So before we get started, we have something to talk about.
Mhm.
Do you want to share what this is, Talisa?
Okay, so we're going to introduce a new system for our podcast. So this is moving forward. We're going to keep doing this. We call it the T system, as in TEA. So it's an acronym that we kind of came up with. So let's explain let's break it down what the T system is. And I know that you're gonna love this.
Yeah, makes it
Okay.
easier to understand.
So
First one is the letter T, which is the trigger or the truth. Basically, what is the problem that we want to uncover?
and E stands for the examples and the examples of executions based on our stories. So we dive into how we execute our solutions with our real life event examples.
Yes. And then from there, the A is actionable advice. So for all of you listeners and viewers, this will be our free advice for you on how to combat this problem. So this is the T.
System. Hope you like it.
I know. We're serving all
All right.
kinds of tea here.
Yes, I know. This is how we're spilling the tea.
I love it.
Okay, so positioning yourself as a professional event artist. Michelle, what is the truth here?
Oh, the truth that we have today is you're not a hobbyist anymore. You are a professional.
So
Mhm.
when you want to position yourself as a
Mhm.
professional event artist, you need to position yourself that like this is not an expensive hobby anymore. You're here to work. You're here to collaborate and have partnership with companies and brands and so on and so forth. Now, in terms of our examples and executions, um, we're gonna basically tackle this by looking at three different factors. The first one is the skills, and then second will be capabilities, and then the last one would be the process.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the skills.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
a lot of
Mhm.
skills. This is
Okay.
probably like one of the most important things that we should always start off with, right? With basically any sort of art that we do, you got to make sure that your skills are there first. And so,
Yes.
Talisa, how would you first figure this out? Like, you're brand new to the market.
Mhm.
You want to see, like, are my skills good enough? What do you do from here?
I I would first compare with the people that are already in the market.
Mhm.
So I would look at who's the best and who's the most in demand and how are their quality of calligraphy or illustration or their painting.
Mhm.
And I would strive to be at that level. or someone who's actually even have done um life event frequently, doesn't have to be the one who are like in in high demand, just like I should be at that level, right? So that really um can position you like, am I ready enough? And if you if it'll tell you if you're ready or not, and looking at your work,
Mhm.
right? So I would look at like, how long have I known how to do this skill? Like if I've only picked up the skill maybe 2-3 months ago, whether it is painting, illustration, or engraving, I don't think I have enough skill to do so. Like like you need to have the skill,
Mhm.
right? So there are a lot of courses out there available to learn all these skills. Um but I think what's really important is continuously practicing and always look for room of improvement. Um, right. So I would say, like, I feel like if you just started maybe 6 months ago, even, I don't think that's enough time for your muscle memory to be developed.
Mhm.
Or like maybe just taking one course. You can't, like, you need to be good at it, right? And especially if the people in your market are already like really good at it. Like, I don't want to half-ass it, right? um so yeah.
No, it's like policing yourself, right? You need to look
Hmm.
at your skills and see where do you stand in the market. It's not like a job where you get your yearly review and your boss comes in and takes a look at all the work that you've done and says if you're ready to get that raise or not. Like, no, we are like independent business owners. And so we take care of everything else, right? We are our own boss, but as good as it sounds, it also comes with a lot of responsibility, like
Hmm.
making sure that our work is good quality, good enough to go out there and perform. And so,
Hmm.
whenever we're doing these things, like think back to why you started. Was it because you started because you wanted to go and make all this money, or did you start your art skill because you actually enjoy doing art? You have to take a look at that part too. And from there, think about it like driving. Before you were learning to drive, you went to a classroom and you read the manual. You learned what the stop sign means. You learned what the double line means or the dotted line. You have to
Yeah.
know those things before you ever get into the driver's seat. And if you did not go to those classes ahead of time, how would you even know how to drive? How would you even know where to turn the gears? Where's your
Mm.
blinkers? Like, you need to understand those things and be prepared before you even get into the driver's seat. It's like your skills, right? You can't just take a quick class and then think that you're ready. It takes time, it takes practice. And
Yeah.
like you were saying to Lisa, it's like 6 months. That's like minimum for the people who
Minimum.
have
That is
been.
the bare minimum.
It is the minimum.
Yeah.
And like, we start all these classes. We think it's good. It's better than we were doing before, but if you
Yeah.
take a look at and compare to other people, it's still maybe still needs some work.
Hmm. And like the thing is that taking a course is not enough
Mhm.
without practice. The magic is in the practice, not just taking classes. And just because you took a course, it doesn't give you a license to perform right away. Um so I think it's really important that when you are learning and when you're improving the skills, you need to look at where, like, you need to be able to label what areas that you need to improve, like which is it maybe the flourishing, like does it need to, is the oval needs to be like a little bit more prominent, and all of that comes in time. Like for me, like I think it took me about a year and a half of learning how to do calligraphy until I was confident enough to do a live event. But even then, if I'm looking at back right now, like it look so different than how my work is, because again, like you have to have that commitment of always wanting to improve your work.
Okay. And speaking of that, I actually have a story on what happens if you don't commit yourself to practice. So back when I was starting out, I was contacted by a high-end brand to do Chinese calligraphy for Chinese New Year in their store. And so at first I thought, okay, maybe I can do it because I grew up learning that. But the last time I had practiced it was over 10 years ago, a very long time. So I thought, okay, it'll be easy. I can just pick it up again, do it, no problem. So I said yes. And they actually hired me and I did some samples for them. And they said, it looks great. They even sent it off to their headquarter office who actually approved it too. So I thought it was okay. The day comes where I'm supposed to go into the store and perform. And when I get there, the manager, she is
Mhm.
like from China, and she sits me down in my area and she starts asking me questions and speaking to me in Chinese. And I don't speak Chinese, first of all.
Mm.
So that was like the first red flag for her. And so I can see her, like, she was like looking at all of my supplies and she was like, oh, that brush is good. You have your ink. That's good. That red paper is good. Like, she was like critiquing me as I'm putting out all of my supplies. And then the time comes where she is like, okay, let's get you writing some samples. And so I started writing. And then immediately she was like, oh, that's it. That's all you can write. And I'm like, yeah, this was approved by your head office. And then she goes to the back room. And then maybe in 30 minutes later, she comes out and she says, you're done here.
Oh my
And
God.
and I just stop and I'm like, is everything okay? And she goes, yeah, no, we don't need this here. You can pack your stuff and go now. And I was so shocked.
Oh
Like,
my
I was
God.
just sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know this lady. This is not the lady that I was talking to. And so I called the person who hired me and she
Mhm.
said, yeah, I guess they're canceling services. And I was supposed to be there for 3 days, like 3 days
Oh
in a
my.
row. And so I packed up all my things. And for those of you who do Chinese calligraphy, you know that brush is like a
Mhm.
mop. Like the end of it's literally like, so it soaks up everything. And I wasn't prepared to leave that quickly. So I had just grabbed some like Starbucks napkins that I had in my
Oh
bag
my God.
and like just put my napkin in there and like just soaked up all the ink and tried to like clean up as quickly as I can. And while I was doing this, she was like breathing right down on my neck and I could feel it. I was like feeling so anxious and I cleaned up really quickly and I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't finish this activation for you. I hope that there's something that we can do to fix this and work together in the future. And she was like, she just walked me to the door like a security guard at the
Oh my
airport.
God.
Like I felt like I was getting kicked off the plane.
Oh my God,
I know.
Michelle.
I know. And I went back to my car and I cried my eyelashes off. And I think that was the time that I realized like skills are so important. Like I thought about it over and over again for months and I couldn't figure out why. Like there was no other explanation as to like why
Mhm.
I would get kicked out so early. And immediately after that, I looked on their Instagram. They had brought in a different Chinese calligrapher. Like immediately, she was sitting at the same table, same setup and everything. And so I'm like, okay, the only other possible solution or possible reasoning for this was like my calligraphy was just not up to par. And from there, I'm not going to do Chinese calligraphy again unless I practice it and really
Yeah.
understand it. But I feel like that's
Mm.
like a whole different ballgame. Like you need to speak
Mm.
Chinese to really understand it. I wouldn't offer that part again, but I
Mhm,
do think
mhm.
about that every time I do English calligraphy now that I do painting. Even though the head office may approve you, someone in the store will understand what you're doing and they may or may not like it. There's always somebody who knows. So just because your work gets sent to Europe doesn't mean that they know what you're doing.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I
Go.
hope this is not a sensitive question, but
No.
the person that was approving in the headquarter,
Mhm.
were they Chinese?
Oh, absolutely not. None of them were Chinese. So
So
I,
they just didn't understand the standard overall.
mhm, mhm. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah.
But Hawaii is 60% Asian descent, and so
Mhm.
they know.
No, mhm, of
They
course. That's
know. They
They
are
know
straight from
standard.
China. Yeah. People, you'll get that everywhere you go. Like you think, okay, maybe this person doesn't know bottle painting, but maybe it might not be the sales associate, but it may be your client that.
Yeah. It's the feedback. So the thing is that it's the feedback from the clients based on the expectation that they've seen before, what they've seen before, and the manager store is the one they are seeing and witnessing, and the one giving feedback. They also have the power to make decision as well, not just the head office. Yes, the head office will be the one paying you and finding you, but the the feedback is coming from the people on the floor.
Mhm. Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's the person who has the last say and if you come back or not. And apparently
Yeah.
they can kick you out the store too.
Oh
So,
my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you.
oh my
This
gosh,
is this is so vulnerable.
it is, oh my gosh,
Oh
I
my God.
wanted to share this with you guys because I feel like it's such a huge story and I don't want it to happen to anybody
Mm,
else.
of
It taught
course.
me a huge lesson and
Mm,
I guess silver lining, it made me like do better. I really,
mm.
really pushed hard after that. I'm like, I can't let this happen again. Like, it's not
Yeah,
a sustainable business. It's not even a business if that happens to you.
I think
So,
that's where I think that's a really good learning experience for all of us, that we should only take the jobs that we are skilled to do so, whether it is Chinese calligraphy, Arabic calligraphy. Do you know how many times people are asking me to do Arabic calligraphy just because I look like this? I'm like, I don't speak the language.
mhm,
I don't know how to speak it. I know how to read, but I don't know how to, like, you know, write in
mhm,
Arabic. So I always say no, and I usually refer to someone who knows how to do Arabic calligraphy, or like I would just tell them, I like, you have to be honest
mhm,
with yourself, right? Have to be honest with your client. When you're honest, it's like it's just better in the long run, than taking a job that you've never practiced before, just because someone inquired to for you to do it, especially in such a short amount of time. And especially, like, it doesn't mean that you should take it. It is the same thing with, like, engraving, bottle painting, fashion illustration, portrait illustration. It's not something that you can just pick up, like, in a month or two. Like,
mhm.
you need to be good at it.
Oh,
It's just
for
gonna backfire you when you take the job that you're not skilled at.
mhm. Yeah, you don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah, because it's either, y like, you may not get data, but you might also not be called back, and words get around.
Mhm. They all talk.
Yeah, they do. I've heard so many things, and that is why, like, we have to keep improving our skills. Like,
Mhm,
don't just stop wherever you are right now.
mhm. Totally.
Mhm. Yeah.
Man, okay. So
Oh,
that was the skills.
that
We
was
have a
that was
lot to
skills.
say. That was just the skills, part of the, examples.
Mm.
Let's move on to the next one.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
when
capabilities.
mhm, capabilities. So, when you think about this, are you comfortable doing your skills in front of people? Are you comfortable being social? Because you do need to talk to people while you're there and do art at the same time.
Multitask.
Yeah, multitasking for sure. And can you interact and not just with the clients, but you're also talking to the sales associates? Maybe the managers come by. Maybe there's kids around there. There's a lot
Yeah.
that goes on.
Oh my God, you are working under pressure.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. And how do you juggle all of that while still maintaining, whatever you're doing? You're doing calligraphy. You got to make sure you spell the name correctly. You,
Hmm.
you're doing engraving. You
Hmm.
may or may not get another bottle if something happens.
Yep. It's permanent. So
Mhm.
make sure you can focus as well as knowing how to multitask. It's like managing your expectation,
Mhm.
right? One thing that I've heard over and over again, clients, whether it is brands and whatnot, they care about speed and quality
Mhm.
and how you're aligned with the brand. So that comes with knowing how to manage your expectations. So you need to be able to communicate that.
Mhm.
So if you are if you know how to do, say, illustration, right? Just because you know how to do that at home, doing it slowly, it doesn't always translate knowing how to do it fast,
Mhm.
right? Um, because at a live event, you, like what you said, you're working under pressure, you're communicating everything with the client. So it's just your focus in doing the artwork is kind of like a lot less than you when you're doing at home. There's no distraction at all, right? So for example, like fashion illustration. So when you are performing this usually in high volume as expected, um the skills, let's go back to the skills for fashion listening. You need to know how to draw slow first. You need to master how to do one pose first before jumping into learning 10 different poses, knowing where to add curves, brush manipulation, knowing where to shades, how to create fluid brush strokes so it doesn't look choppy. And then when you add colors for illustration, it's not the same as adult coloring. So when you need to gain that muscle memory first, like that's the skill part. So you probably need like 6 to a year consistent, obsessive practice,
Passive.
right?
Yes.
Because guess what happened when you're at live event? So your worst drawing at home is your best at live event, which means that when you're practicing the skill, it has to be at an expert level, right? So, and that's the same thing with calligraphy or engraving or ball painting. When you practice at home,
Mhm.
whatever you come up is the worst, that's the best you can do at live event.
Oh my God.
So which means that like you have to be like really really good to be
Mhm.
able to perform that live with a quick turnaround while talking to the customers, talking to the sales associates, and then managing all of that
Oh my
because
God.
you're very very distracted. It's like it's you know what I mean. It is not easy. It's not the same as what you're doing at home.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. So all my papers that I practice on that are in the trash, that's going to be my best work on.
That's your best at, like at live event.
Oh
So
my, that's crazy
mhm.
to think about that. When
No,
you,
yeah,
I don't do illustration like you do. I'm like, I know how much work goes into that, and I know how much studying and how much practice you put into that. Like you spend
because yeah.
a lifetime practicing that skill.
I think it's I'm not saying that it's not possible. It's
Mhm.
definitely attainable.
Mhm.
It goes back to like why you're doing this again. Like if you want to learn just because you want to provide a service, you're going to find out that this is going to be really really hard
Mhm.
because again, like you need to look at the standard in your market, right? In Toronto there's a lot of artists and very very talented. So like I'm not comfortable. I wouldn't be comfortable offering it if I only had a month to practice. Like I've been doing drawing and painting since like I was for like a long time, like since I was a child. But I focused on calligraphy for so long that I almost forgot how to draw. So when I wanted to start doing portrait again, I had to obsessively do it again. And then my hands start to remember how to do it. But like, like to be able to do it live, like it did require a lot of obsessive study.
Mhm.
You also have to come up with your own style and then figure out what works best. Like it's very different when you're doing it slow at home and you're doing it live. It's very, very challenging.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I definitely can see that. So you're basically saying like when you want to learn a new skill, what are you doing it for? Are you just doing it
Yeah,
because you think it's going to make some money, or are you doing it because you actually enjoy doing it?
yeah,
And there's a saying that I really like, and it's if you are just chasing money, you're going to be chasing your entire life. You're never going to get that. And so you cannot compete with someone who actually enjoys doing something because they have the time and the passion to continue practicing even when times get tough because they actually really do like it. And so if we're just doing it because we want to offer the skills or work this one event, like it's going to be very difficult to get yourself
It's
to practice.
yeah. And then like if you're taking the job and you're not ready, and then you're gonna feel like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna charge way less than the other talented person. And then it's like, is that really fair? Do we want to be like that? Like, do we want to, water down the industry and then lowering that? I'm sure some people might hire that, but is that what you want to be known for? Do you want to position yourself that way, or do you want to position yourself as a professional artist?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to position yourself as someone who's cheaper and affordable, but less quality?
Oh,
Think about that.
question of the day. All right. Oh, I like that one. So that was capabilities. We have
Mhm.
one more under examples and execution. So the
Mhm.
last one would be the process. Basically, you want to set the expectations
Mhm.
by having a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, as well as setting that expectation during that discovery phase.
Mhm.
So, when you're inquired by a client, you want to see where is it feasible or not? Is there a fit? Is there an alignment with what you're looking for? Than what I can offer. And this is where you're sharing your expertise. This is where you give out your um what you know best, right? So you need to look at what's the volume, what's the expected
Mhm.
volume,
Yeah.
and what surface are they looking for? What is this for?
Mhm.
Is this an in-store event? Is this a private event? Like, how many guests do you have? Is it, if it's an in-store, is it gifted purchase? And you can look at the company. Is it a low uh what is it, a low price tag, or is it a high price tag? If it's a low price tag, then you probably want to minimize, like you have to buy at least a certain amount of money in order to get the complimentary service, not just like anybody. Or is it gonna be like anyone come in and you get the service, which happened before, like I've done that. So how are you gonna have that crowd control? How are you gonna have um and then you let them know what is the turnaround time, and you need to be honest and realistic. Like, the clearer it is, um the with the in during the discovery phase, the better the process will be at life event, when it on during the life event, and the experience is just way better. And then also, like, your client would be much much happier,
Mhm.
because like think like a lot of to a lot of clients, to a lot of brands, to a lot of corporates, a lot of like this service is very new to them.
Mhm.
So there is a lot of educating um, to do in this industry, which is fine. I think like I've had to explain a lot of things to them. Um, right. So for example, if someone wants a like someone like, I have like 300, 300 guests, and I need you to be there for 4 hours. So how much is it? Like, they want to know what your rate is. And then I asked, like, first of all, what are we personalizing? What are you asking me for? Are you asking me for illustration? Are you asking me for painting? Are you asking me for
Yeah.
engraving? Which one are we doing? Because each of them has different turnaround time, right? And then I would explain to them, like, oh, like, like they want, like, say, foiling. And I say, like, well, for this amount of people, like, I would give options. So I always give options. So, okay, we can have a solution number one. I'll come in, but it will be first come, first serve base. And this is how much it would be. So it would be usually higher rate, obviously, because it's very high volume. You have to deal with like the crowd and everything. Um, and then or option number two, I have uh this I'm going to subcontract, get get a friend, get a colleague to join us. And then we can have everybody doing it. And then you just and then it will be this much. It would be like much higher rate, right? Because you have to pay all the other artists.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
or we could also have some done in studio first. If you already know who they are going to be, like, I don't know how that's going to, like, work out in giving out um the the personalization, maybe so some done first and some in on like at live events.
Mhm.
So and then it will be this much for studio and this much in at live event. So when you're providing the option, you're putting yourself in a position that you're an expert. This is how it can be done. This is how it's feasible. This is how we can manage. Also giving the client um a, a power to also to make decision,
Mhm.
you know
You
so
give them options.
yeah,
And I think
giving them options.
that's the best because they don't, like you said, sometimes they don't know what we do. And because this is still so new, they may just not understand your capabilities.
Hmm.
They don't know that it's going to take you this amount of time to finish this portrait, right?
Hmm.
So by you providing other things, it kind of makes them feel like, oh, okay, there's other things. And also they really do see you as an expert. You're building expert points with them. And so
Hmm.
I I kind of did that too. Like when someone will ask for on-site painting, I tell them like how much time it takes per bottle. And I also offer engraving as another service because I can complete a bottle in like, for example, maybe 10 minutes, but engraving, maybe it only takes me 5 minutes. So it takes me half the time. And so you can offer these different services to make sure that, more people will get something personalized but still within the time frame.
Hmm.
So really education is so important when it comes down to that because it really sets the standard for what you can do and then what the client can expect from you.
Hmm. Exactly. So when everything, and you have to be really honest too, right? And be realistic. Like, you don't want to say yes to engraving, say for example, 500 items within 4 hours, which is humanly impossible. And then like when you're there at the event, you're like, I can't do it. First of all, your hand's gonna hurt. It's not possible. You're gonna hurt your hand. It's not gonna be sustainable for you, right? Like, it have have a very realistic expectation and be honest. Even if you lose the job, it's okay. It's better than you basically what's the word, like
Like
if you're like,
embarrassing yourself.
exactly, and then the client be like, I don't think this person knows what they're doing.
Mhm.
I don't even understand. I don't think they understand what they can do. Like, it's just gonna look bad
Yeah.
than
Or
you
you're going to get
being
kicked out of the store, kicked off the plane. I did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure, like, you can always ask again, ask your peers, ask your colleagues, do you think this is possible? This is why it's so important to be friends with the people in your market.
Mhm.
Or even if they're not in your market,
Mhm.
like, because everybody has the same experience. Usually we work for the same brands and
Mhm.
then like work on the same kind of service. Whenever there's like a product launch, it's like it's happening the same way all over the world. And you can ask them, is this possible? How did you do it?
Mhm.
And yeah, from that, just try to give solution that is feasible, realistic, and be honest about it.
Mhm. Ooh, I love that. Great
Hmm.
examples. So we are now moving on to the
The
actionable
A, not the
advice
T.
of the
Yes,
T.
the
Yes.
E.
All right. So with actionable advice, so this is the how part, right?
Mhm.
So how are
Mhm.
you going to do all these things? So the first thing that you would want to do is have a good copy, have a good visual branding through your website and your social media. So how
Mhm.
can we do this, Talisa?
So yeah, we kind of touched upon that on the last episode. And so we're just gonna expand a little bit more on this, on the how. So first is you want to showcase your best work. So that means because you're always improving yourself, because you committed yourself to improve whatever skills that you have, you want to keep updating that best work as well. You want to keep updating your portfolio. Um, so for example, calligraphy, it should be legible. It needs to be legible. I think when it comes to calligraphy, there is no like there's a lot of rules in calligraphy, and I think it's important to follow them. It's important to know um how to do calligraphy properly. If you want to do flourishing, take that flourishing course, because if you're not doing it properly, it's not going to be legible. Legibility in calligraphy important.
Mhm.
The thing is, art is not subjective when it comes to calligraphy.
You said it.
That's the T. um,
No, I
I've
agree.
heard I've heard so many things from the client and what they think of. Like they don't know the appropriate word, but like I've heard many things um when the calligraphy is not when they can tell when someone is not trained in calligraphy.
Mhm.
Um, so
That is
like
going against everything that we've heard. There are
mhm,
some people who say they can't tell, that your clients can't tell.
they can tell. I'm sorry to say,
Oh,
but they can.
they 100% can.
If especially once they've seen comparison, if they've seen a lot of going through a lot of artists, 100% they can tell.
Mhm.
They know what's like if it's like new to them, you can probably get by with like, with whatever calligraphy, but I think a lot of countries and a lot of market who have been doing um activations like this, they've seen what's done, so they've seen quality. So like this is why again, like you need to see the people who have done it in your market, what is their quality like.
Mhm. And that's
So
really like you're really positioning yourself as an expert, right? You don't want to
mhm,
continue to be a hobbyist. You always want to improve these things. So,
mhm,
what is a professional? That's someone who is very skilled and trained in their craft.
yeah, so
And
keep taking classes,
mhm,
like
yeah.
keep taking classes and learn from different teachers, because every
Mhm,
teacher will give you something new to learn.
mhm,
Like your glass is never full
yeah.
once you're in this game.
Mhm. And, you know, I teach, Talisa teach, and we always
Mhm.
tell our students, keep learning, keep taking
And
classes.
yeah, exactly. And we're still taking classes. I'm still taking, like, even if, we teach painting, I'm still taking painting classes.
I know. I
I'm
take
still,
classes every week. Like
yeah,
it's never ending.
I've been doing portraits for like 2 decades. I'm still taking portrait classes just because I want to see the different ways of how to do different tools, how to do different technique. Maybe I can, fasten my process. It's just never ending.
Mhm.
It's a
Oh,
never ending journey.
it is. And it's always fun too, right? Like there's maybe an
Yeah.
instructor that you might,
Yeah.
learn something new or new
Yeah.
tools. Like it's always
Exactly.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. You're always gonna have to invent something new. So
Yeah.
it don't stop wherever you are.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
And so when you do start to, build your work, you really want to go out there and you want to show it off, right? So
Mhm.
when we know that our work is very pretty. We have it all in our portfolio, we have it on social media, we have it on our website. But how do we portray this to our clients? And when we do that, we want to make it in a way where it's not like me, me, me. Look at how pretty my work is. Like Yes, we can see that. It's obvious. Okay. But you want to position it as like, how can you provide value to the client? Like, how can your work provide value to somebody else? Like, think about it this way: live personalization can really increase the brand loyalty. So, like, when customers experience this, their names being written on a perfume bottle, on an item, they really feel special. They really feel like it's something that's theirs now. It's not just a regular perfume bottle, it has like their name on it. It's for them. And because they had such a good experience, they can now take this and show it to all of their friends and family and pretty much brag about it and post it on
Mhm.
social media. And in turn, that really elevates the brand. They're not just posting their name, but that's their perfume bottle also being posted
Mhm.
on social media. So it works both ways. Like, you can do your
Yeah.
pretty art, but you can also elevate another brand or elevate the brand. So it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one thing that you need to like what you said to consider when you're writing up your website copy and your social media, that you need to look at who you want to be, who you want to have your target client is.
Mhm.
Provide that value.
Mhm.
It's not just about like, oh, hire me because it looks good. They like
Yeah,
they want to see why is it why would I want to hire you? Like why would
right.
we want to work together? Like you need to be able to communicate that
Mhm.
with clarity.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's not about you, it's about
it's
them.
about them. Not me,
Yeah.
it's you.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one we have here. Ooh, this is Talisa's really good at this one. Like,
Ah,
thank you. Always
sorry, you're actually better at this because
no, you're always
um
showing up.
I think it's really important to show yourself. Because I think, whether it's in person or digital, in a digital space, um, when people can see you, it gains trust, right? So I think um, it helps when you also present yourselves, whether in person um, or at the digital space, that you look presentable, you look confident, and looking professional. Um, when you are marketing yourself, right? Because it's not just your skills, it's also like they want to see how it would look like to work with you.
Mhm.
So we both have invested in professional photo shoot, like a branding shoot, and I think it's really important. I know it's not super necessary. You can probably really get by without it, but it does help with the alignment. It can really add value. It can looks like, okay, you're actually legit. But again, this is not the one thing that you should only focus on. This is just an add-on,
Mhm.
right? The most important thing is the skills, and then how you communicate it, and then how you present it,
Ooh.
right? So it's like the next step kind of
Mhm.
thing. So you might not, you know, have the capacity to do that right now, but at least at one point in your journey, you should invest in that if you want to be seen as the professional, the go-to, like um the premium artist,
Mhm. Yes.
so
It's like also part of a business expense too, right?
yeah. Yeah, it's
Like,
branding. It's all about branding. It's
oh
important.
yeah.
Branding is important.
Mhm.
It's very important how you market yourself.
It is.
Skills is the most important. Branding is like the next thing that's important.
Mhm. Oh, come full circle with everything.
Yeah. Like you got to be strong on both.
Mhm.
Like if you are not there yet, it's always like, you're gonna get there one day if you continuously want to improve.
Mhm. Oh, totally. And it's part of like it's everything that we do, right? Like, yes, you have the skills, now you want to show it off, but you want to make it look like you've done it a lot. And those
Mhm.
photos will really help take you there. Like, it
Yeah.
really solidifies like, yes, you are professional.
Yeah.
You're ready to go from hobbyist to now professional in your skill
Exactly.
that you have. So that's the
This is
tea.
that's those are the tea.
The tea.
Oh my gosh. we've covered a lot today.
We did. So
Well, I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. Michelle, do you want to tell the listeners what our next episode's gonna be on?
oh, the next episode. So we talked a lot about having good skills. Like Talisa and I cannot stress that more. But the big question comes after that. And it's, how do you know when you're ready?
More specifically, how do you know when you're event ready?
Oh, like this.
Like this. Oh, this is why you guys are here.
I know.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.